In a previous video, we looked at the definition and the properties of a trapezoid, and in this video, we're going to be looking specifically at the mid-segment of a trapezoid, what that is, and what its relationship is between some of the trapezoid's sides. So let's start off by looking at a trapezoid and reminding ourselves of what it is. So in a trapezoid, we have exactly one pair of parallel sides. So in this case, my pair of parallel sides is shown by the arrows. So my parallel sides are here and here. All right, so what is a mid-segment of a trapezoid? A mid-segment of a trapezoid is if you take the legs, so you will recall, hopefully, that the legs are on non-parallel sides. So if you take the legs and cut them in half, so let's say the midpoint of that leg is there, the blue dot, and the midpoint of this leg is here, the blue dot, and you join the midpoints of both those legs, you just created what is called the mid-segment. So we probably would benefit from an official definition. So I will say the mid-segment is a segment that connects the midpoints of the legs of a trapezoid. I'll repeat. This is the segment that connects the midpoints of the legs of a trapezoid. So you may recall that triangles have mid-segments too, and so do other shapes. But in this particular case, the mid-segment is special for the trapezoid because of a couple of reasons. So the first thing that is important to know about the mid-segment is the fact that it is parallel to the bases, which makes sense, right? So when you create that mid-segment, you can just drop that arrow on here too. All three lines. Both bases, of course, are parallel to each other, and so is the mid-segment. Now, here's another cool little thing that's happening with the mid-segment. The mid-segment is equal to half the sum of the bases, or you can think of it as the average length of the bases is the length of the mid-segment. So let's write that down. Length of mid-segment equals half. And I'll just say B1 plus B2, half the sum of the bases. All right, now that we know that, let's try a quick problem. Okay, so before we even get started here, we need to make sure it's a trapezoid. And it is in fact a trapezoid because this line is parallel to this line. And these two lines are clearly not parallel to each other. All right, so since we know it's a trapezoid, that's a great first step. Next step is to make sure that we're dealing with a mid-segment here. And since we have these markers, it tells us that FL is congruent to LK, and it tells us that GH is congruent to HJ, which means that these are being cut, this line is being cut in half, and this line is being cut in half, and these are in fact midpoints, which means that this line segment here is a mid-segment. All right, great. So now we know that we're dealing with a mid-segment of a trapezoid, and we can use what we just learned, which is the fact that the mid-segment is equal to the half the base of, well, base 1 plus base 2. All right, and we know that the mid-segment is 15, so that's half base 1, so we don't know what x is, let's call that base 1. But we do know that the bottom base is 18.2. All right, so now we have a wonderful equation, and solving it is not that hard. We can go ahead and multiply both sides by 2, so we can get rid of that. And we get on the left that 30 is equal to x plus 18.2. And now we can go ahead and subtract 18.2 from both sides, and we get that x is equal to 11.8, and that's our answer. All right, and that's how the mid-segment of a trapezoid works.